What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into episode 168, everybody. I am your host, Sleazeball. Today's episode is going to be a different switch up. I'm going to give you my smash starts earlier in the week this week. So these are going to be 8 players, 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends who are outside of the top 10 overall at their position that I think that are going to go for 20 plus points based on my research, matchup analysis, and everything like that. Before we dive into it, guys, I do like to show you my recap from last week as well. So I like to be transparent in what I do. So these were my smash starts last week. I had Russell Wilson. He absolutely exploded. I hope you guys started him and subscribed to the channel for that one because that was one of the best calls I've had of the week because everyone was out on that. Kyler Murray didn't get it done like I thought he would. Bucky Irving absolutely smashed. Jonathan Taylor, George Pickens, BTJ, they all smashed. Taysom Hill got hurt, of course. He was on his way to smashing. And Kyle Pitts, I can't even explain the zero goose egg. That's out of control for me on that one. I couldn't believe that, especially how the Chargers funnel passes across the middle. So before we dive into my week 14 hit, guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscription. Turn that bell on. Helps me out a ton. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support. I will be live from Thursday to Monday this weekend, all weekend long, doing different drafts, taking all your questions, having different people on the shows, stuff like that. And if you guys cannot make any of the live shows, you can drop any comment you want down below. It does not have to pertain to this video. I try to answer every single one of them to help you guys get that weekly win. We are 1 week away from the playoff, guys, and get you that ultimate goal of a championship. And let's dive into my smash start players that are going to go nuclear in week 14. Smash start QB number 1 is going to be Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers. They are headed into the Detroit Lions for a massive playoff implication game. Packers at 9-3, Lions at 11-1. Guys, the over-under to this game is 51.5. They think the points are going to fly, and so do I. This is going to be an amazing Thursday night football game on Amazon Prime. Now, so Jordan Love currently averaging 18.5 points per game, QB 16, so outside the top 10 there. 2,518 passing yards, throwing a little rushing yards in there at 48. You know, he had that injury early in the season in Brazil that really hampered his rushing upside. You're starting to see him move a little more here. 11 interceptions. He's got to drop those numbers down, but 21 TDs, that is what you like to see. And when you're going up against the Detroit Lions, you can look at them versus the quarterback and say they're a very good front seven. They hold the quarterback to 14.4 points per game. That is true. But where the Detroit Lions struggle the most is versus the wide receiver. They give up 38.3 points, which is 29th. So, and again, their front seven is very good. So when you get down to the red zone, they're number 3 in the red zone. They only allow 4.2 to the wide receiver there, but they give up 187.8 yards to the wide receiver per game. This is dead last in the NFL. You're going to have Romeo Doubs back out there off, his concussion that he missed last week. Jaden Reed, we're going to talk about him later in this video. And you're going to have Dontavian Wicks. You're going to have Christian Reed for the deep ball. I love all these Green Bay Packers in this game. I think it's going to be an over 60-point game, high-scoring, electric Thursday night football game. That's what we've had this year. Usually it's like low-scoring games. Get Jordan Love as a smash start that's going to go nuclear for 20-plus easy this week in your fantasy football lineups. Smash start player number 2, quarterback number 2 is going to be Russell Wilson. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. I had him as a smash start last week. We are going to ride it here again heading into Cleveland this week. So currently averaging 17.8. He's still only owned in 36% of leagues. Guys, you got to go get this guy now. The schedule heading down the stretch is beautiful for the pass game. But we're going to look at everything else first here. So QB 31 outside the top 10 there. 1,626 passing yards, 27 rush yards, 3 interceptions, 11 total TDs in the year. Even has a rushing TD to go with it. So when you're looking at this offense, they just threw for 400 yards. So you know that Russell Wilson can open up this offense 100%. You're getting the Cleveland Browns this week, who you just watched off a short week last night versus Denver, going to a massive shootout game where even Bo Nix had 300 yards. They had 500 yards of total offense. Now, I know this is going to be a division game, probably a little colder here in Cleveland, but that's not going to matter. It was cold in Cincinnati as well. So you're going to have George Pickens. You're going to have Freiermuth. You're going to have Najee. You're going to have Jaylen Warren. The options are going to be limitless here. And I absolutely love Russell Wilson to go nuclear. And when I'm looking at it, the Cleveland Browns, this is where they struggle at. So versus the wide receiver, they rank 24th, giving up 35.3. They are just like the Detroit Lions, though. Their front seven is very good. When you get down to the red zone, they're number 7. but they allow 165 pass yards a game, which is bottom 10, and they allow 1.2 passing TDs a game as well, which is tied for dead last in the NFL. I expect Russell Wilson to keep the train rolling and go nuclear for 20-plus points in Week 14. Smash start player number 3, running back number 1 that you should be absolutely locked and loaded into your lineup in Week 14 is going to be Bucky Irving. So right now, averaging 14.2 points per game, 54% snap share, target share at 9.1. Gotta like that as a rookie running back as well. RB16, outside the top 10 overall there. 732 rush yards, 285 receiving yards, already 1,000 total yards as a rookie. And just look at this, 133 attempts with a 5.5 yards per carry average, which is absolutely bonkers because he's a game breaker. 6 total TDs. And if you look at last week versus Carolina, everyone has a smash play versus Carolina. 152 yards, absolutely destroyed them. 188 yards and had a hip injury. Had 33 receiving to go as well along with it and a touchdown. Now you're going to get the Las Vegas Raiders. So their season is completely over, guys. They have literally nothing to play for but the first pick. So, and the Titans and the Bucs are fighting for their playoff spot, right? Back to 6-6, back to 500, trying to get back in the mix here. So the Raiders, they give up 22.7, that's 17th, 19th in the red zone, so about a top 20 defense versus the running back. 94.2 yards they give up a game and a 70% chance of a touchdown. And I know Bucky came down with that little hip injury, but the update is everyone's downplaying the hip injury. It's not that big a deal. So in this game, he's going to go nuclear for another 20-plus easy for me. Get him into your lineups in Week 14. Smash start player number 4, running back number 2 that you should get into your lineup with ease this week is going to be James Cook. So averaging 17.1 points in the season. Snap share last week was only 45%, but that was a game in the snow, so it was a little different there. Target share at 10.1%. Gotta like that. RB12 on the year, so outside the top 10 there. 703 rushing yards, 195 receiving yards to go along with it. 151 attempts and a 4.66 yards per carry average, which is phenomenal. But guys, he has 12 total TDs on the season, which was his downfall last year, and everybody that was hating on it is now eating their words on that. Now, you get the LA Rams. So the LA Rams just got gashed by Alvin Kamara as well. They rank 23rd, giving up 23.8. They do have a good front 7, but that front 7 is getting worse as the season goes on, so they rank top 8. They used to be a top 2 to 3 in the red zone. But guys, they give up 116.4 rushing yards, which is second last in the NFL, and an 80% chance of a touchdown. And when Josh Allen is on his MVP tear that he is right now, James Cook is going to feast the rest of the way, and he's probably going to see 20 touches a game here from here on out. So even if you look at last week versus the Niners, right, in a snow game, he didn't play that much because they were rotating players in and out because it was so cold. He had 107 yards on 14 touches and a reception for 13 yards to go well. So he only had 15 touches. But again, that was one of those weird games, and they blew us out. And I'm a Niner fan, so they blew us out by 28. CMC went down very, very ugly. I am smashing James Cook to go nuclear for 20-plus points this week in Week 14. Smash start player number 5, wide receiver number 1. I'm going to stick with the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, Jaden Reed Dewey. You saw me talk about Jordan Love earlier. Now we're going to talk about Jaden Reed. So Jaden Reed with 20 points last week in Miami. He did have 2 touchdowns. He always sees that rushing yards as well. So he's averaging 14 points per game, 67% snap share last week, target share at 17.2%, wide receiver 11 overall, so outside the top 10 there. 58 targets, 44 receptions, 693 receiving yards, 128 rushing yards, which what you got to love in fantasy football. He gets a lot of end-around work as well, and 7 total TDs. But if you're looking at the last 3 games, right, his target share has not been high, 6, 9, and 11. All these games, kind of games that they had in hand, kind of games where they were ahead. You're going up against the juggernaut Detroit Lions here in a huge playoff implication game, playoff seeding, everything on the line. And the Detroit Lions, like I talked about before, this is where they struggle. They give up 38.3 points to the wide receiver and the most receiving yards to a wide receiver there is. And if you even saw the last game versus Miami, that first drive, he had an 80-yard wide open touchdown. Jordan Love just barely overthrew him and missed him. Now you get the game where the chunk plays are going to happen against Detroit. This game is not going to be in the cold. It is going to be in a dome where Jaden Reed is even more of a monster. And he is going to go nuclear for 20-plus points this week. Get this man into your fantasy football lineup. Smash start player number 6, wide receiver number 2 for me that's going to go nuclear this week for 20-plus fantasy points is Calvin Ridley. So right now, averaging 11.3, 100% snap share last week versus Washington. Did not come out. Target share at 25%, which is top 25 in the NFL. Wide receiver 29 overall, so outside the top 10 there. 87 targets, 43 receptions, 679 receiving yards. You like the little rushing yards he tacks on, 4 attempts for 32 yards. That's fine. You at least you get the rushing yards to go along with. Well, 3 total TDs, but you get the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what is this game for Calvin Ridley? This is the revenge game. And you just saw what Jerry Jeudy did in a revenge game last week. This is exactly what is going to happen to Calvin Ridley this week. I'm not going to say he's going to go for 40 points like Jeudy did, but you have to listen to this. The Jacksonville Jaguars rank 30th versus the wide receiver, giving up 39 points per game. They rank 11th in the red zone. They give up 181.4 passing yards, which is third worst, and they allow 1.1 touchdowns to wide receivers. And he is going to be getting force-fed the football in a revenge game. That is just what happens. And I don't even care if they're getting blown out. I don't care what it is. Calvin Ridley is going to find his way to 20-plus points in this game. Get this man in your lineups. Smash start player number 7, tight end number 1 that you should be getting into your lineup in the smash start video is David Njoku. Currently averaging 13 points per game. Snap share last week was at 92%. That is tight end 1 overall numbers right there. Target share is at 20.7. That's top 15 for a tight end. He's tight end 11 overall, so outside the top 10 there. 74 targets, 49 receptions, 397 yards, 4 total TDs. Now, what you have to look at, Jameis Winston is slinging the football, guys. The absolute, it's an aberration game. That's not going to happen again like that every single time, but he's going to be throwing for 30, 40 attempts every single game. He just had 17 targets last game versus the Denver Broncos. 26.2 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns, like I said in videos before. He is the big body where I do not look at red zone statistics. He is so big in the red zone. His double team does not matter. You can always find this guy. 52 yards, 9 receptions. Now, you get the Pittsburgh Steelers here. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are just like the Denver Broncos. They are a very good defense, but their weak spot, if they have one, is the tight end. The Pittsburgh Steelers rank 20th versus the tight end, giving up 12.3. They rank 15th in the red zone, so about a top 17 to 18 defense. 51.9 yards allowed, which is bottom 10 there as well. And a 20% chance of a touchdown with red zone conversion. But that doesn't matter. Again, this guy's too big. It doesn't matter what they can have the best defense in the red zone. I'm still not worried about red zone numbers when it comes to the 6'4". I would say he's even like 6'5", 250, 260. They put him at 246. This guy's an absolute beast. And I think he's gonna go nuclear again for 20 here. And Jameis Winston may not just be he may be the starting quarterback next year, even with Deshaun Watson's contract right now, of how good this guy looks. And you're starting both of them in this matchup no matter what, because they're going to be pass-heavy funneling here. This Pittsburgh is a very good run D. They're going to be passing heavy in this game. David Njoku is going to smash and go nuclear for 20 points again. Smash start player, last but not least, number 8, Jake Ferguson, the second tight end. And guys, he has not hit 20 points all year long. And I know Cooper Rush is the quarterback. This is one of my bold takes right here. So Jake Ferguson is averaging 8.7, snap share 75% last time he was out there before the concussion. Target share 16.3%, which is in the top 15 of tight ends as well. And you could say the Shoemaker has earned a couple snaps here and there. I'm not buying that when it comes to Jake Ferguson's talent compared to Luke Shoemaker. I think it is a big gap of difference. Now, in this game right here, you are going to get the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals, guys, are dead last versus the tight end, 32nd, giving up 16.6 points per game, 29th, third worst in the red zone, 65.2 yards allowed, which is bottom 5, and a 70% chance of a touchdown. And just look at the over-under in the game, right? And you even have Cooper Rush at quarterback. It's at 49.5. They think the points are going to fly, as do I. Just like I did with Russell Wilson as a smash start versus him last week. The Bengals defense can't stop anything. That's why their offense has to put up so many points. So even when I'm looking at this game, this is their weakest spot they have. Jake Ferguson is a bold call to do it, but I am going to right now ride it out and say that he is going to be a nuclear 20-plus point player on Monday Night Football coming out the concussion versus Cincinnati Bengals. Thanks for rocking with me today. That is the end of the episode. That is my week 14, 8 players, smash starts. I think they're going to go nuclear for 20 plus points based on my research, based on my analysis of the games. And you have to remember, this is BYEMAGGEDON week, guys. So this is time to make the crunch time decision calls, especially with the playoffs coming next week. Everything is on the line here. Before we head out, guys, make sure you smash that like, make sure you smash the subscription, turn that bell on. Again, helps me out a ton. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support. This season has been absolutely amazing. And I'll be live again all weekend long. If you cannot make any of the live shows, you can drop any comment you want down below. I try to answer every single one of them. And remember, it is absolutely playoff crunch time. Bring me all the questions. I'm here to answer every single one of them to help you guys. And that's it for me. Sleazeball out. Hope to see you guys in the next video.